Welcome back, everybody, to the channel, Jacob Gramegna channel, or Amateur Sports channel, whatever you do want to call it. We are back. We are finally back with some more Toronto Raptors content with the final stretch of the season, the post-All-Star break period of the season, ready to get going Thursday as the Raptors take on the Chicago Bulls. And today on the Raptors Happy Hour, I wanted to just do a post-All-Star break reality check. Where the Raptors sit, how we're looking, what we should be expecting from the team for the rest of the season, what needs to happen for the Raptors to find success, all the things of that nature. That is what we're going to be doing here on, like I said, the Raptors Happy Hour. This is the show where I cover the Raptors typically Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We do it 3 times a week. Didn't do it on Monday just because it was the All-Star break. It was family day. You know what? I valued a little bit of time off for myself, and it wasn't a ton to talk about. But typically we go 3 times a week, and we also do watch parties for Raptors games. It's a great time for you to get subscribed to the channel, keep up to date with all the content we have coming your way for the rest of the season, and also you can hit that like button if you enjoy this particular happy hour along the way. Over the course of today's stream, we're going to be talking about All-Star Weekend, how the Raptors players performed in the All-Star games, Scottie Barnes and Brandon Ingram. We're going to discuss if this new format was a success or not. What do we think this is something the NBA should continue to go with going forward? We're also going to talk about an unfortunate quote from former Raptor Kawhi Leonard on the 2019 Raptors championship team. It made its rounds on social media, so I'm assuming everyone has kind of seen it. But if you haven't, we'll break down what he said and discuss if it was fair what he said about the team. Then we're going to dig into what we're really here for on the Raptors. I'm going to prep you for the final stretch of the season here. It's quite a big stretch, but, you know, a final stretch of sorts. We are 55 games in. We're about 2/3 the way through the season. So for the final third of the season, I'll get you equipped for everything you need to know. And then I kind of want to discuss who could possibly be the most important Raptors player in that stretch, and potentially and hopefully for the playoffs. Obviously, Scottie Barnes, franchise cornerstone, main piece, but like, could somebody else rise up and have some larger importance if they have a really good end to the season here? That is all we're going to be covering here on today's show, along with any questions or comments that come from the chat. As always, the chat helps drive the stream. If you're out here, make sure you comment something. Get a question in. Just say what's up. Let me know you're here. If not, you just want to watch, hey, that's completely fine as well. I realize I still haven't hung up my magazines. It's been quite a few days since I got these, or got the new one. So I gotta hang these up. But at least they still look pretty cool back there. We have Blaze45, YT joining, Adam H, as always, and our amazing 2-year member, excuse me, 2-year member Gregory. How's everyone doing, first of all? Great to see you back. Nathan McLeod also joining us. Happy to have everyone back here. Great to see you all here. Hopefully you've all been well. Hopefully you enjoyed Family Day on Monday. I actually don't know if that is a nation. I imagine it's a nationwide holiday. If you're in Canada, Monday was Family Day. It's a stat holiday. Yeah, it's a made-up holiday, but we get one stat holiday a month. And in February, there are no holidays, so they invent one to give you a day off from work. This week, my company has been on a week break at work, so it's been really nice. I've still been working and doing I've been creating a lot of assets and like graphics and things like kind of what you see here, you know, like the text up top with the logos and everything. That kind of design, except for the company I work for. Been doing that kind of thing all week, which is kind of nice to be working on my own schedule and just being able to be creative and making that. So it's been a nice week off. Yesterday, I went into town a little bit because I had to go to the post office, but I went downtown. My goodness, yesterday morning in Toronto, the sun was shining. I was in like a hoodie and a vest. I didn't even need a winter jacket. It was beautiful. And then I'm hanging out with my friends in the evening, just at a bar, grabbing some happy hour pints. And it's a bit foggy, but it's still relatively nice out. And they tell me there's going to be like 15 centimeters of snow today. I'm like, no way. Yeah, you can't do this. You can't show me the weather, and then it turns into this. But yes, it's been awful weather all day. It was like a blizzard this morning. It snowed quite a bit. I think, yeah, it stopped, but awful. I'm going to a concert at like a low-key venue later. So I was hoping for some nice weather for that, but that's okay. It's inside. It's just getting there. It's going to be more annoying than it had to be. But yeah, how's everyone doing on this fine Wednesday, middle of the week? Gregory says, for the Raptors season, it's been a success. Yes, I mean, it has to be. I said that on Friday. You can't consider this Raptors season so far anything but a success for sure. Nathan McLeod says, about to sit in traffic and hop on the 401 to the DVP to fly downtown. Wish me luck. Well, good luck to you. Hopefully, if you're here with the stream, this can get you through the next hour or so of that trip. I was going to say drive. Not a lot of driving if you're on the 401 and the DVP at this hour in this weather as well. I haven't looked outside. Maybe don't. It's pretty rough out there. It's pretty rough out there. This morning, with I like to just chat a little bit before we get into the content. Earlier today, rather. My goodness, not sure if there's any hockey fans here. I certainly am a hockey fan, especially when Canada is in a best-on-best tournament and we have the Olympics going on. My God, what a game against Czechia today. U.S. is currently on. I actually haven't had that game on because I've been busy, but I'm going to toss on the U.S.-Sweden game. USA is up 1-0 currently. My God, what a game against Czechia. And wow, did I really not need it to be a really good game against Czechia? Because Canada beat Czechia 5-0 in the group stage. Czechia had honestly looked really bad up until that point in the tournament. Like, they struggled to get past Denmark in the first round of we'll call it like the knockout phase, the playoffs format. Really, like, I mean, no disrespect to Denmark, but a team like Czechia should probably be comfortably getting past Denmark. So going into this quarterfinal game, I was like, man, Canada should wax them. I understood, in sports anything can happen, and I'm really not one. I really am not one to tempt fate with a statement like that. If you know me, well, I mean, I guess I haven't done many playoff games here on the channel, but when it comes to playoff formats, I start to get incredibly superstitious. If you saw me in the World Series, actually, I start to get quite superstitious. I don't like to tempt fate with saying, oh, they're gonna beat this team. But yesterday I was like, yeah, Canada should fucking walk through Czechia. But obviously that is not how the game turned out. Canada were pretty wasteful with their chances. Now, not to say Czechia didn't squander a couple of their own, but Canada were very much not clinical in this one, and just a couple mistakes. They paid the price, letting in some goals. Thankfully, the Canada were able to come back, not just because obviously I want Canada to win, but the Czechia's third goal. I don't know if you guys saw. They didn't cover it on the broadcast, but Czechia had 6 players on the ice for their third goal. So part of the reason they developed an odd man rush the other way is because they had an extra player on the ice, which you saw on the block shot that led to the goal, Canada's block shot that led to the goal. And you saw when they were celebrating the goal, there were 6 of them celebrating the goal on the ice together. There was very clearly 6 players on the ice. It was not caught by the officials. So thankfully, that's not a story that I'll be hearing 20, 30 years from now. Oh, that Czechia game, they had 6 players on the ice. That was Canada's best team or whatever. But yeah, big shout outs to Nick Suzuki, who was one of the players who squandered an earlier chance, missed an empty net. I was just thinking after he missed the empty net, wow, what if that's the one that cost them? And then when they're down 3-2, I'm like, wow, imagine if it's Nick Suzuki who scores the goal after missing that one earlier. And he did. It was a really nice tip in front. The shot was going way wide. He tipped it in. And then OT, of course. Wow, it really does suck that a game as good as that and as tense as that was solved with a 3-on-3 overtime. That ain't right. I mean, I get there's a schedule to keep and whatnot, but for real, for a game of this importance, a 3-on-3 overtime should not be how it is solved in the end. But I did go to 3-on-3 overtime. You have to favor the better team a lot more in a 3-on-3 overtime. They had the game-breaking players. Binnington made a couple of big saves in OT, if I remember, at least one. And then shout out Mitch Marner. Wow. Oh, my God. What a freaking goal by Mitch Marner to win, by the way. Going through 3 players, getting onto the back end, then being able to lift it like that. What a goal. Shout out Mitch Martin. Mitch Martin is a great player. It's a shame how it all transpired with the Leafs, but this fan base did not deserve this guy. Like, he was really good. I know he had his flaws in the playoffs, but we're feeling his absence this year, and he got chased out of town. You have a hometown kid who's a star player in the league, and you chase him out of town. We don't deserve nice things. He's a great player, and he showed it on that overtime goal. Wow. That game was crazy. That game was absolutely crazy, for sure. But I'm very much looking forward to the semifinal against, it'll be Sweden. If Sweden win this game against the U.S., it'll be Sweden. If not, it will be Finland. And Sunday would be if Canada get there, the gold medal game at 8 a.m. I plan on going out to a bar, hopefully one is open that early, to watch the game. I think there will be one open that early, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm excited for this. I love this. Love having NHLers back at the Olympics and it being as competitive as it is. Canada's got a good chance to go for gold now, but we shall see. Anyways, let's get into the basketball side of things with the stream today. And first of all, let's touch on the NBA All-Star Game. So, first time the NBA implements a Team World versus Team USA format. And what timing to do this as well, by the way. During the Olympics, and everyone is feeling very patriotic about their own countries. I know it's Team World and not a team's country, but people getting to represent USA, Americans getting to represent USA, then other players getting to represent, the world and going at it. Kind of like proving a point type of thing. And I gotta say, I went into now I'll preface this by saying I didn't watch this stuff. I watched highlights. I told you guys I'm not gonna fall for it. Not gonna get the fell for it again award. Didn't trust the players would come out and try. So I'll go off the highlights and from what people I know, what they told me about it. Apparently it was a hit. Apparently people were trying. I think it seemed like a big factor as to why people were trying for this was because Victor Wembanyama was very much trying and kind of set the tone there. I don't think he quite is at the level where he commands enough respect for opposition like superstars, but I think we'll get to a point where Victor is one of the faces of the league, and him trying in these all-star games is actually really beneficial, and it kind of rubs off on other people. So anyways, 3 really good games leading up to the final. Team World was in a really close game against Team Stars. Ignore that. Against Team Stars, 37-35 in overtime for Team Stars. One of the USA teams, Scottie Barnes, comes off the bench, hits a 3, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. Couple decent numbers there. Victor, like I said, leading the way, 14 points for Team World. Then you had Team Stripes, 48-45 over Team World. Unfortunately, Brandon Ingram, not doing much here. No field goal attempts, got a rebound, but only got 4 minutes of play in this one. Kawhi went crazy, though. 31 points. He brought it here. He's brought it in other ones, and Victor played it, again, very well there. Then you had the two Team USA teams. Fortunately for Brandon Ingram in this one, he goes 0-3 in just 5 minutes. Struggled in these all-star games. Scottie Barnes, a couple points. In another tight game, 42-40. People were pretty excited for the final, 3 tight games. All-Star game is back, and then you had the dud in the final. Too bad there was another game. Team Stars wins 47-21. Scottie Barnes just a game-winning shot because I think it was you have to play to a certain amount of points, and he goes 3 of 3 from the field, 6 points, 4 rebounds. Unfortunately, Brandon Ingram was a DNP. I didn't even know you could do that. A DNP? How you get DNP coach's decision in the freaking All-Star game, man? I don't know if he was hurt or wasn't. I don't know what, but just box score surfing. Poor guy. You could have given him a couple minutes. The other guys got at least 6 minutes. You couldn't get Brandon Ingram in. You had to have Jalen Brunson go minus 26. Is that what you had to get? Was that what you had to do? You could have given our guy 4 minutes, right? So, anyways, that was kind of a shame. But also, he had no points in the first 2 games he played. So, maybe it did make sense a little bit. But anyways, nice to see Brandon Ingram take part. Scottie Barnes take part. And the format. I don't see why they wouldn't continue with this format. The only I suppose, qualms I would have. Well, making the game shorter are better because it's less chance of a blowout. If there is a blowout, then it's just like the one game, right? So it's not like, if it's a 4-quarter game and the first quarter is an absolute blowout, and then it's not like the rest of the game is pretty meaningless. So that's kind of a plus there. I'd like them to do a little bit more, and I know this would be difficult from like a merchandise perspective, but I would like them to do more representation for the countries people are playing for Team World. Like, I know the NBA wants to sell the jerseys and whatever, and honestly, the Team USA jerseys I thought were really nice. I actually would very much like to own a Scottie Barnes or Brandon Ingram one, even though they do say Team USA. But I'm not going to buy one, though. For Team World, I think it'd be a lot nicer if the players had a jersey with their own country on it. So, like, if you're a Canadian player, it's still, like, the same base color for everybody, but then you have your own country, like, team... Or like, I don't know, Team Canada or something for like Jamal Murray or a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, for example. I think that'd be cool. I also think that's just, I mean, the NBA's in this for money, which they are. You could also say, like, you could just make it for like every big country that follows the NBA. And then even if there is no Canadian All-Stars, which there probably won't be for a while, even if there is no Canadian All-Stars, you could still buy a Team Canada All-Star jersey with like a custom, I don't know. Maybe it's just a bit of a nightmare to get that all set, but I think it'd be cool for the players to be able to represent their own country at an event like this. I know there was like the flags and stuff, but anyways, format seemed to be a hit. I'm much more likely to watch the All-Star game next year as a result if this one went as well as it did. I don't know if I will, but like, I'm much more likely to do so. It just seems like people enjoyed it that were involved, and it went well. Did anyone of you watch this? Anybody here watch it? If you did, let me know your thoughts. As for the Saturday, by the way, again, not watching it. I'd be happy to watch the 3-point contest if it wasn't such a drawn out event and it was just so long. 3-point contest seemed to go really well, really entertaining. The dunk contest was. Dunk contest. We are getting in dangerous territories with this thing. It might be over. It might be cooked. It might be cooked. Like, the best guy for the dunk contest, Mac McClung, didn't do it because apparently other people wouldn't have gone up against him because they know they wouldn't have won, which is just so stupid. No big name players take part. The guys who they tried their best, but yeah, that was brutal. The skills thing they do, like the 3-on-3-on-3 thing, I don't even know what they call it. That is just unnecessary, it seems. Yeah, I don't know, not for me. I might try the actual game next year though. We'll see. I feel like whenever they establish there has to be a game, it's sad the actual game couldn't just be epic. Yeah, a few of the players actually said they want to take part in like an East versus West All-Star game, but they tried a lot of that, and it hasn't been good. It hasn't been good for a while. It hasn't been good since 2020, so like, I give them props. I give them props for trying. I give them props because they tried something new. They tried a new format. They wanted to do a Team World versus Team USA game. It just doesn't stack up. There isn't enough Team World players to justify an All-Star appearance to make it 12v12. I'll kind of continue to say it doesn't necessarily need to be the All-Stars at the event. Four Nations face-off in the NHL was extremely successful. It wasn't like they were an all-star selections there. So you could just have a Team World and a Team USA for a game that doesn't necessarily need to be the All-Star game, for example. Players who are All-Stars can take part in other events, for example, if they're not one of the 12 on Team World, or Team USA, sorry. But I don't know. I get it all. The shorter games, less chance of a blowout, higher chance in a smaller sample size of time for there to be a close game because there's less time for a team to open up a very large advantage, for example. But again, I like that they tried something here. Gregory's upset because we didn't get to see Scottie and Brandon face up. I guess, I don't know. I wasn't watching, so I don't know. I guess they didn't take the court at the same time, which would have been cool. But it's cool to have Raptor representation in every team. There was a player on Team Stars, a player on Team Stripes, and, of course, Darko Rajakovic, coach of Team World. Congrats for him for being involved as well. Seb B, so they watched and thought it was worth a watch, but Saturday wasn't good. Saturday just seems way too long. It's way too... It's a big corporate event. I know that. But, like, the amount of commercials, the amount of time in between things, it's not worth the watch to me. It's like, if I'm hanging out with friends and we're doing other stuff, it can just be on, and that's cool. But, like, I'm not going to, I'm not just going to sit on my couch and turn on the All-Star game, the All-Star Saturday. I might with the game, but I won't with the Saturday. I like Scottie, said I did and loved it, except the dunk contest. So interesting. So you liked it. So someone said Saturday wasn't good, but you liked Saturday other than the dunk contest. Hey, that's fair. We may need to get to a point where, I mean, the dunk contest continues to exist. The 3-point contest kind of seems like the premier event. Like, I feel like that should go last for these things. And yeah, all this was pretty early as well. Just make the dunk off for Rising Stars. I mean, the point of dunk contest is like you prepare dunks. It shouldn't be... Now, they have time to prepare, yet Jackson Hayes literally just jumped and did a fucking regular one-handed slam. That was really stupid, but the idea is they have time to prepare and come up with these really cool dunks, and they didn't really do that. Banged on my foot playing basketball, out for 2 or 3 weeks. Get well soon, man. Injuries are tough. I'm dealing with one myself. But get well soon. Hopefully you're back on the court. Soon. A lot of injury news coming through the NBA just today, by the way. Anyways, we'll keep it moving on the show today and start to talk about, let's dig into the Raptors side of things a little bit more. As a reminder, if you're enjoying the stream so far, if you're getting value out of it, make sure you hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Keep it locked with the channel. I'm live typically 3 times a week for the Raptors Happy Hour, streams just like this. And I do watch-alongs for Raptors games, which we're back for tomorrow. Should be a lot of fun there as the Raptors take on the Bulls. And guess what? Friday, we're back doing it all again on the Raptors Happy Hour. Saturday, there's no game, so I'm not streaming. Sunday, there is a game, but unfortunately, actually, I play soccer, and it is perfectly in sync with that Raptors game, so I'm going to miss that one. But you got me for the Thursday game and the games after that. All right, getting back into it with the Raptors side of things. It was great that we had some Raptors storylines at the All-Star game or the All-Star festivities with Scottie Barnes, Brandon Ingram playing in the All-Star game, Darko Rajakovic coaching in the All-Star game. But perhaps the biggest story in regards to the Raptors that came out from All-Star weekend was Kawhi Leonard. And unfortunately, it really was for the wrong reasons. Let's investigate a little bit further. Lots has been said about Kawhi Leonard's departure from the Raptors. There's a lot of respect, and for myself, there's a lot of respect there. He went to a place in Toronto that we've now really confirmed he did not want to be there. He questioned why they traded him because he said, I'm not going to stay. I'm not going to re-sign. He did not want to be in Toronto. Yet still, he gave his absolute all for the team and for the city. Gave his absolute all to stay as healthy as possible and put up one of the all-time great playoff runs as the Toronto Raptors won the 2019 NBA championship. But forever grateful, and I forever respect Kawhi Leonard for that. And you know what? He won the chip. He wanted to go to LA. Sure, whatever. We could have run it back, but okay, again, fine. I'm at peace. I'm at peace with what's happened there mostly. But what I'm not going to be at peace with, and where I lose some respect, is perhaps the way Kawhi Leonard spoke about that team. Because I think a big story from the most recent All-Star weekend for Raptors fans in particular was like Raptors representation for the people involved, like I said, Barnes, Ingram, and Rajakovic, but also former Raptors involved, like Pascal Siakam, who's now 4-time All-Star, and former Raptor Norman Powell, who had his first All-Star appearance. Norman Powell making the All-Star team means that the 2019 Raptors championship roster actually has 6 All-Star players on it. 6 All-Stars. They weren't necessarily All-Stars that season. Perhaps they were All-Stars before that season with the Raptors. Perhaps they were all-stars after that season with the Raptors, like Marc Gasol was before, and then after Fred VanVleet and Norman Powell now was. 6 all-star caliber players on that Raptors championship roster. Yet still, Kawhi had some very interesting words about that team. Let's listen in here.
2019 Raptors team. Now that team now has 6 all-stars with Norm making it as well. When you reflect back on that team, like how proud are you of all the young guys who grew up into all-stars and just how good that team was when you reflect back on it?
Everybody comes into their own, but the talent wasn't there, but the work ethic was. And
let's listen to that back.
Everybody comes into their own, but
listen here.
The talent wasn't there, but the work ethic was, and that's the reason why we won. Everybody thought they were better than they were, competed at a high level every night, and I'm happy for them, especially for Norm. Even
2019.
Well, he's happy for them. He's happy for Norm. That's great to see. But what did he say? The talent wasn't there, but the work ethic was, and that's the reason we won. So we have to give, a credit to where the work ethic was for the Raptors team. They absolutely worked their ass off for that championship. They had to put in a lot of work. I wasn't betting at the time, so I don't know what the odds reflected on them going into, they're obviously favored against the Magic. I imagine they were slight underdogs against the Sixers in the second round, despite being the home seed. I imagine they were sizable underdogs against the Milwaukee Bucks going into the conference finals. And I imagine they were sizable underdogs going into the finals against the Golden State Warriors, okay? That definitely would have felt that was the case. But, I think in the end, we should look back at the team kind of why were they treated like that? This was an amazing roster, an incredibly deep roster that was also pretty loaded with some top-end talent. And yet Kawhi Leonard is saying the talent wasn't there, but the work ethic was. And I saw this quote and immediately, I saw the quote before I saw the video. I saw the quote and I kind of dove in a little bit more. And because I saw the quote initially, I was just like, is this taken out of context? And then you watch the video and then you look at the whole quote and you kind of go, no, this is the context. This is exactly what he said. I don't know. I think he was trying to be respectful about the team and just say how hard this team worked and grafted and everything. But it definitely came off quite disrespectful about that roster, talking about how the talent wasn't there. Let's have a look at how good, we'll look at the game 6 here, how good this roster of players was. Pascal Siakam is now 4-time All-Star. Kyle Lowry's a 6-time All-Star. And Kawhi Leonard, who's obviously fantastic. Marc Gasol, who is a possible future Hall of Famer. I think he should get in. I think he's a 2 or 3-time All-Star. Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah, 3-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA. You've got Danny Green, 3-time champ. Great glue piece there. Fred VanVleet, eventual All-Star. Serge Ibaka, one of the better players who've existed in this game, who was never an All-Star, I'd say. And Norman Powell, who is now an NBA All-Star. This team was so good that when OG Anunoby came back from injury, they were like, you know what? We're good. As much as OG is great and is now a max contract player, we were like, you know what? Let's not disrupt the rhythm here. We're so good that we don't even need OG Anunoby to go and do this thing and win a freaking NBA championship. So to say this is not a talent, a roster where, not an untalented roster, but the talent wasn't there is pretty crazy to me, quite honestly. Harsh, really harsh about this team, I'd say, as well. Trying to just piece together what he was talking about here. I mean, granted, like I said, they were probably underdogs against the Sixers. They were underdogs against the Bucks. They were underdogs against the Warriors. So maybe what he's trying to say is the talent wasn't there compared to the teams they were playing against. Because clearly, I mean, I think it should be very clear the talent was there for the team. But perhaps it wasn't at the level of the teams they were playing against. But whether they lacked in talent against those teams that they were underdogs against, they made up for in the work ethic they displayed in those games, sticking to the game plan, the game planning from Nick Nurse, which was phenomenal over the course of that playoff run, even for him as a rookie head coach. So I'm very much hoping that is the way Kawhi Leonard is trying to spin it. The talent wasn't there compared to the teams they were playing against. But then again, you know, Kawhi Leonard this season has talked about with the Clippers how, I'm not quite sure the exact ways worded it, but he's spoken about it like, you know, the Clippers are missing some talent right now. When it's really annoying when he talks about like the hardships of the Clippers and the lack of talent on that roster when there was such an extraordinarily talented roster here in Toronto. It was such a talented roster that, you know, they had a better record the year after he left. Without Kawhi Leonard, they had a better regular season record. Now, I'm not saying they're a better team. They obviously would have been better with Kawhi Leonard, but they were like a basket away from going to the conference finals and being probably favored against the Miami Heat. Like, I think if we don't have COVID, we have home court against the Celtics second round. Siakam doesn't forget how to play basketball, hopefully. We probably win that series. I think we get back to the NBA Finals. That team, I mean, that's quote from myself, but that team, what I'm saying is that team, even without Kawhi Leonard the next season, was good enough to have gone back to the NBA Finals, to have won the Eastern Conference once again. So obviously, that team was extraordinarily talented, and even if it's not what Kawhi Leonard meant to say, it is extremely disrespectful the way he worded it about his former teammates. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I didn't like it one bit. Not a great look for Kawhi, in my opinion. Not sure how you could perceive it any other way, to be honest. My spin is that he was referring to the younger guys. I mean, I guess, and you know, I am saying, like, they weren't all-stars at the time. Siakam was a four-time all-star, but he was a zero-time all-star at the time. Norm was only getting 10 minutes a game off the bench. OG didn't play if OG was better, there wouldn't have been any choice. They we got to play this guy in the NBA Finals, for example. So I can recognize that aspect of it, but it came off very disrespectful. I don't know how anybody could look at. I don't know how any Raptors fan could see that and immediately think and immediately not feel disrespectful. That was pretty disrespectful, you know. And Gregor says that leftover Raptors team was dominant. Kawhi left a chip on the table. It was definitely close. I think if we go back in time, Kawhi stays. I think that team took the Celtics all the way to the brink of Game 7. I think they beat the Heat. I think they were better than the Heat. I think they beat them without Kawhi. Kawhi's there. Yeah, I struggle to see them not getting to the finals. The Lakers are really good that year, so who knows? But Kawhi stays, then Danny Green also stays. They had a chance. He definitely left his best shot at a chip on the table by leaving. But like I said, he wanted to go home. He wanted to go to LA. He didn't want to be here, yet he gave his all, helped bring us a chip. And I have to give him a lot of credit for that. Yep. Kawhi is nuts, so. He is nuts. Did I hear about Katie's burner? Alex Scott. Yeah, if someone could fill me in a little bit more, I'd like to see. So apparently the allegations right now against Kevin Durant, who, by the way, was on his phone a lot at the All-Star game. The allegations are that Kevin Durant listen, it's been pretty proven he's on some burner accounts on Twitter, but a specific burner account that has been in various NBA group chats where he has spoken very ill of his Rockets teammates. He has badmouthed the Rockets and his teammates, and the Suns as well. He used to be on the Suns. And it's a really bad look at some of the things he said. It's alleged that it is a Kevin Durant burner account. It is alleged that the people in these group chats knew it was Kevin Durant, and maybe he knew as well, but it just got leaked. I don't know. That was kind of crazy as well. Katie's addicted to his phone, man. By the way, USA and Sweden in overtime of this quarterfinal game right now. So If Sweden wins, Canada plays Sweden in the semifinals. It'll be Slovakia and Finland on the other side. So we'll have a tougher. I don't really want to play Sweden. Semifinals, though, every game will be tough. I think Sweden will be the tougher. I'm not a real ball knower, but I think Sweden will be tougher of Slovakia and Finland. For that reason, I don't want to play Sweden in the semifinals as a Canadian. However, if Sweden wins, USA is out. And you don't have to play USA at any point, like in the gold medal game, for example. So your gold medal game, if you get there, becomes easier if it is not the United States. But then again, that gold medal is a whole lot sweeter if you beat the U.S. in that game. Obviously, I just want gold in any way whatsoever, but like the ideal circumstance is Canada versus U.S. And I mean, what a game that would be if we got to see Canada, USA best on best again after the electric Four Nations face-off of last year. And obviously, the history between these two countries at the in men's hockey, the Olympics, and women's hockey as well, for that matter. So, anyways, I don't know how I feel about this. We'll see what happens. If you're watching this back later, you know who won between Sweden and the U.S., but currently it is 3-on-3 overtime going on here. And again, it is pretty crazy that a game of this magnitude is being settled by 3-on-3 overtime. And good save there by Sweden. All right. Back on the rails. You ain't here for hockey. At least I don't think you are. You ain't here for hockey. Reminder, if you're enjoying, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And we'll keep it moving on the show today and get really in to the Raptors side of things now. And get you prepped for the rest of the season. Because based on how the Raptors have spoken about their organization, this is apparently the second year of their rebuild. And yet, after 2 years of tanking, the Raptors are all the way up as the 5th seed in the Eastern Conference. They're 9 games above 500 at the NBA All-Star break. If you offered me that before the season started, oh my God, I would absolutely have taken that. Are you serious? Yes, I would absolutely love to be in this position at the NBA All-Star break. But now that we're here, expectation has kind of changed. We are here. We're 2/3 away through the season. We are a good team. And fans now are kind of expecting and demanding this team to be successful the rest of the way. So let's try and dig into what that success actually looks like and what needs to happen for the Raptors to be able to achieve it. And again, like I'm pretty happy with where we're at right now. You have to feel really good if you're a Raptors fan. At least I think you should be. They are comfortably above 500. They are in a really good position right now to make the NBA playoffs. And I think at the start of the season, that just should have been the goal. Make the playoffs. And right now the Raptors, just looking at some sportsbook odds here, just pulling up FanDuel, they are minus 1,200 to get into the playoffs, which is obviously fantastic. If we take away if we take away the vig of this market to get the actual percentage chance of the Raptors making the playoffs, we have them at about a 89% chance of making the playoffs at this point. That's because the Raptors, like I said, sit as the 5th seed. They are 2 games back of a top 4 spot where the Cleveland Cavaliers sit, which would obviously give them a home court advantage for the NBA playoffs. And they are currently 3 games up on the play-in term positions where the Orlando Magic currently occupy the 7th seed in the East. Now, obviously, the Raptors could just make the playoffs outright by being a top 6 team, or if they are a play-in tournament team right now, if they become a play-in tournament team, it is very, very likely they will have 2 shots at it. If they finish 7th, they'll have 2 home games. They have to win one of them to get into the playoffs. If they're the 8th seed, they have an away game, and then they lose that, they'd have a home game where, again, a win would get them into the playoffs. They have 2 chances. They have a really good shot at this point of making the playoffs. But we don't really just want to, like I said, expectations kind of change as the Raptors have gone through this season. We don't want to just scrape into the playoffs. We want to be top 60. We want to keep the foot on the gas and continue to go with this thing. And I think the All-Star break came at a pretty good time here for the Raptors because we had that really good, like really, really good West Coast road trip where the Raptors won 4 out of 5 games. They beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. But since that West Coast trip, they've lost 4 of the last 7. And within those games, like they've beaten the Bulls, who like you got to beat. They've beaten the Pacers, who you got to beat. They've beaten the Jazz and struggled with it, but that's a team you got to beat. In the 4 games they've played against teams where, like, okay, tough game, let's see how we do, we've lost all 4 of those games. And there might have been a few negative kind of thoughts going into the All-Star break as a result, especially of that pretty resounding loss in the finale before the break against the Detroit Pistons. I think it's a good spot here to kind of refresh, regroup, get everyone a little bit healthier. Hopefully Pirtle can get a little bit healthier, give Scottie Barnes some time off because the season's been very taxing on him. Brandon Ingram has been very exempt from injuries this year. Hopefully that can continue. Good break for him. Colin Murray-Boyles could probably do with some time off as well because he's been in and out of the lineup all throughout the season. I think it was a good time for a little reset for this team. I know like Barnes, Ingram, and Darko, and Murray-Boyles, for that matter, were occupied with All-Star weekend and such, but like a good break, I think, overall for those guys. They've had a few days off since that one as well. Pretty good opportunity, even though we're away, pretty good opportunity to come out of the All-Star break with a win against Chicago and then 2 days off before a game against Milwaukee, another one where you feel like they're in a good position to possibly win those 2 games. But just again, question marks continue to kind of spiral about this team's abilities against some of the tougher teams in the league. And there will be some tough games throughout the remainder of the season. Like, you still have to play Boston again. You still have to play the Knicks twice. We've played them 3 times already. We still have to play them 2 more times. We've played them in the knockout stage of the in-season tournament, the NBA Cup. So you still have to play the Knicks twice. We're 0-3 against them. You still have to play the Celtics once. You're 0-3 against them. You still have to play the Pistons again. You lost your game again. You still play the Thunder. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong. You still have to play the Pistons twice. Sorry. You still have to play the Thunder again. You still have to play the Spurs again. You still have to play the Nuggets. These are some tougher games. Yet still, the Raptors, like, schedule-wise, a lot's been made of, like, their second half of the season, but it hasn't really panned out to be anything, like, super egregious. It is the 13th hardest remaining schedule in the NBA, and as much as, you got to play those teams again, you still have to play the Kings again, who are tanking really effectively. You still have to play the Wizards, the Pelicans twice, the Nets, the Jazz again, the Dallas Mavericks. Like, there are winnable games on the horizon as well for the Raptors. Again, 13th hardest schedule. Like, that's more than okay for me. And as you go into some of these games against these real tanking teams, like, those are games they're trying to lose. Like, I think the Raptors are in a really solid position here. Now, where some of the difficulties for this stretch could likely come from is that the teams ahead of them in the standing, like, I'd like to, keep the foot on the gas and try and get back up to the top 4. The teams ahead of them in the standings have gotten better. The Raptors didn't really get better at the deadline. You can have your own opinion on how the Raptors handle the trade deadline. We don't need to rehash any of that because I've talked about it enough on this channel. But the reality is we didn't really get better. We brought in some depth for the big positions with Trayce Jackson-Davis, who's not, like, listen, it's good depth, but it's not moving the needle that much. The Cavaliers got a big upgrade at point guard with James Harden. They've won 5 in a row. The Knicks have been just on a tear as of late, though they didn't really strengthen, but they've been playing really well. The Celtics made a trade for Vucevic, and they've been great this season. The Pistons, they showed how good they were against us, so it feels like we're a little bit a tick down, I think, from these teams. Doesn't mean we can't win enough games to catch one of them. We're only 2 games back of the Cavs, only 3 games back of the Knicks, only 3.5 games back of the Boston Celtics, for that matter. But the Sixers are kicking into gear a bit. The Magic, it feels like they're a good team, and they've maybe underperformed a little bit, but I guess they're off the pace. The Hornets have been racking up. I mean, I won't even discount the Hornets here as a chance of making noise as a potential top 6 seed here, but there should be a big enough gap there for the Raptors. Anyways, it's going to be tough to continue this for the Raptors, but I think they are going to have to stay as a top 6 seed. So now that we're here, like I said at the start, we want to evaluate what does success actually look like for the team this season. And start of the season, I would have taken playoffs. Play-in tournament, win there, get into playoffs, that's fine with me. I think expectation has shifted here. We've been near the top of the East all season. I think the expectation changes a bit here. Playoffs would be adequate, satisfactory. I'd be content to just get there. But also be a little disappointed because we're in such a good spot at this stage of the season. So I think the expectation, or rather, what success should look like for this team at this point, success needs to be being a top 6 seed. You avoid potentially playing the 1 seed. You avoid the 2 seed. I think you give yourself a much better shot in a 3 versus 6, or maybe even like a 4 versus 5. You've beaten the Cavs 3 times already this season. Right now, they're the 4 seed. That could change, obviously. But I really think like the team at this point needs to identify that success is now going to be being a top 6 seed. If they make a top 6, if they're top 6, I'd be over the moon with the way the season went. Considering the thoughts going into the season, I'd be so happy with that, and I think you should be as well. So how are they going to achieve this? Well, defensively, they've been great this year. That needs to continue. But changes, I think, offensively. The clutch offense needs to be better. Brandon Ingram has been great this year. He was an all-star, but some of his fourth quarter play has left a bit to be desired at times this season. Some of it's been great, but quite a lot of it, and I know teams are fixated on him, they're defending him, but we need a bit more from him. We need more help from the depth players. Absolutely. We need to establish a much more physical presence. And I think a lot of these will take us further. Now, all this, like I said, is really easier said than done. I think Brandon Ingram's got it within him to do it. I think the depth helping us out with the offense a bit more, much easier said than done. How much can we rely on the likes of a Grady Dick or a Jacoby Walter or others in that sort of range to really step up the rest of the way? I don't think that's super reliable. But it'd be great, especially from a shooting standpoint. Physicality needs to be matched. And from a coaching perspective, some of these in-game kind of management situations just need to be tightened up a little bit. We need to stop treating this sometimes like a socialist sort of offense. Sometimes, no, it's the fourth quarter. Give the fucking ball to Barnes and Ingram, these sorts of things. I think these are the sorts of small things along the way that'll factor in the extra few wins here or there that might be needed to force this team as a top 6 seed. But from this point, I feel pretty good about their chances. Make the playoffs feels like they're in a really good spot, as I said earlier, to do it. But as far as making the playoffs, should be the expectation and the mark of success to get in as a top 6 seed minimum. But hey, we're only 2 games back of the 4 seed right now. Let's keep it going. Let's make a run. Let's win a couple games. Start off the last third of the season here, gain some momentum, and see where the season takes us. That was kind of Bobby Webster's approach, the trade deadline, to see where we can go with this. Let's see what we can do here. More consistent bench play for sure. Barry Cabana says, yeah, absolutely. Hornets having a little success sounds wrong. Man, the Hornets are good. They've been great. They're 9th right now. I think they got to be favored to get into the playoffs from here. They're a good team. Where will that put us in the draft if we make the playoffs? Well, outside the lottery, but we'll be around, I would imagine we'll be around 20th. Around 20, which, it's a good draft. You can always find talent in the draft. Just less likely the further you go, but still a chance, absolutely, to find some talent there. Because, the amount that we could unlock with, more consistent bench play would be crazy. Absolutely crazy. USA won while I was talking there. In overtime. So, Canada survives an overtime scare, as do the Americans. So it is Canada versus Finland. I'd like to kind of go out and watch that. I got the week off from my usual work task, so I could probably get out and watch this game. I know it's in Europe, but I hate how these games are in the middle of the freaking day or in the morning. So it looks like Friday. Can I have either the 10:40 game on Friday or the 3:10 game on Friday? 3:10 would be excellent. Happy hour be buzzing at the spots in downtown. The early game wouldn't be terrific. Yeah, I don't see. I'm trying to find the schedule there. Would I rather get swept in the first round or have a chance in the lottery again? So if like you guaranteed the Raptors got swept first round, kind of depends on the seed. If like from a play-in, would I rather like if they were a play-in team and got swept, I'd be pretty pissed. If they were a 5th seed and got swept, I'd be upset. But like, wow, 5th seed season, you have to be pretty happy about that, you know? Trying to find. Anyways, I can't find it. Hopefully by the time like some people see this or, you know, if you're watching right now, you're able to find it. I'd like to see. I don't think it's scheduled yet. Anyways, I'd like it to be the 3:10 game so I could watch at a bar with some friends. That would be excellent. A lot of fun. Real patriotic. I don't get to do this very often. Canada teams that I really care about, selfishly, be great. All right. Anyways, last thing on the menu for today. I want to get into what I could think like is important aspect of the remainder of the season. The Raptors have higher ambitions at this point of the season. You know, being the 5th seed, now the expectation is to make the playoffs. Where it was before kind of like, let's hope we can get into the playoffs. Now it's like we should make the playoffs from here, and we should remain as a top 6 seed. But it's not going to be easy to do that. And they are going to be able to achieve that, finish the top 6 seed, get into the playoffs outright, not have to worry about the play-in tournament. Which player is going to be the most pivotal for this team in the final third of the season? And I think this question is less fun when you use the obvious answer. The obvious answer is the most important player is Scottie Barnes. He's been the most important player this season. They've dealt with injuries. They've dealt with some key injuries. And who has been the consistent force that has continued to drive this team forward through the season? It's been Scottie Barnes. He's been excellent. It's been by far his best season as an NBA professional. He is an all-star once again for the second time in his career. But for the first time in his career, he is a very large threat for other awards like Defensive Player of the Year. He is definitely in the mix. I would say he is 4th in my rankings for Defensive Player of the Year behind Victor Wembanyama, Chet Holmgren, Rudy Gobert. That's some elite company as far as defensive capabilities are concerned. I think he's pretty much a shoo-in at this point to make an all-defense team. And I think there should be some very, very strong considerations for him to be in an all-NBA team. That's your most important player. That is the best player, the cornerstone, the franchise piece. But could there be somebody else who rises up in importance for this team in this remainder season? If the Raptors are going to achieve what they want to achieve in the regular season, and also, to be honest, if they want to get through that potential first-round playoff series, who actually could become the most important player is Jakob Poeltl. And this, I've kind of said it for a couple of years now. This is like the most important piece because as good as some of these other guys like Scottie Barnes are, we're a lot more capable of getting output in those positions. What we don't have on this team is size and rim protection and rebounding, at least a lot of it. Jakob Poeltl does all these things to a very high degree when he is healthy. And if you can get, I don't know if Jakob Poeltl's going to be healthy. Man, the back is scary. The back is scaring me for sure. But if you can find close to healthy Jakob Poeltl for the rest of the season, I think all of a sudden that could be your crucial piece, your critical member of the team. Because let's look at some of the previous seasons with Jakob Poeltl. So, you know, this season, yeah, the most important player, it's been Scottie Barnes. Like, if we're going to make this a boring answer, it's been Scottie Barnes. Net rating with him on the floor is 3.41. Net rating with him off the floor is minus 2.69. Like, how many games do we see where the Raptors just, like, they are so much better when Scottie Barnes on the floor? And this season for Poeltl, it's been rough. Not the stats that we're used to seeing for the player. When he's on the floor, they have a net rating of minus 0.85. When he's off the floor, they have a net rating of 2.23. Now, he has missed a lot of games this season. He just came back from injury in the game against the Pistons, but it's been a rough season when he has played. Minutes are down a little bit because of his health. Points are down a little bit because of his touches, because with Brandon Ingram now, there's more mouths to feed on the team, but also because he's kind of struggled. And we've felt the struggles much, much more on the defensive side of the floor, where he's been quite awful, quite honestly, this season. He's only played in 22 games of the 55 so far, so he hasn't even played in half the games. And when he has played, wow, some of them have looked bad. Some of them have been to the point. And I get he hasn't been healthy, and the back is really tough to deal with. But some of the games he has been pretty close to unplayable, and you have to get him off the floor. And like I said, this is very, very different to what we have seen in previous seasons for the player. Previous seasons, it's been he's like the most important guy for a plus minus play. This is a guy your team crumbles when he is not on the floor, and that's been the case for I honestly I think it's been a couple of seasons now. As I'm gonna pull up the statistics from it. Here's Jakob Poeltl from 24-25. And look at the difference here. This was a tanking team for sure, but my goodness, when Jakob Poeltl's on the floor, they had a net rating of minus 0.41. When he's off the floor, it was -7. They were way better with Poeltl on the floor. And as long as the stats load here, I want to look at it from the season before. Okay, it's not working. But the stats, even from the season before, let's see if we can get it to work here, I imagine are reminiscent of this as well. Let me see if we can get the numbers here. From 22. Yes. Wow. Season before, with Jakob Poeltl on the floor, they had a net rating of 8. With him off the floor, way more sample size, to be fair. 700 minutes compared to 3,200 minutes. With him off the floor for 3,200 minutes, they had a net rating of just under 0. Coming into this season, since the Raptors reacquired Poeltl from the Spurs, their win percentage with him was over 40%. Without him, it was just over 20%. So I find it truly incredible that the Raptors have accomplished what they've accomplished this season. 5th seed at the All-Star break, 9 games above 500, 32-23, and they've been able to do this with Poeltl missing more than half the games, and in the games he has played, he hasn't been playing well, and he hasn't been healthy. All I can kind of think here is, oh my God, what if he was healthy playing like Jakob Poeltl was supposed to play? Whatever you want to say about his contract, if the Raptors had traded him, he didn't get traded. He's here. He's here for the rest of the season at least. Let's see what we can get out of him the rest of the way. And consider what we've achieved this season without him. And again, just imagine what we can do with him. Because I think what gets mistaken a lot is how good Poeltl has been for the team in the last 2 years. And I've gone through, the numbers there, the net ratings, the win percentages with and without him. And just from watching him, he does a significant job for this team that just other players can't do, because there's just nobody else filling that role as a true traditional center backup rim protector. Fantastic anchor for the defense. And on offense, I mean, some of the Quickly struggles even this season could be equated to Poeltl not being there as much, because the pick and roll game between the two is great, and that makes Quickly's job easier. The screen setting Poeltl possesses is fantastic. That leaves some more space as well for the likes of Immanuel Quickley. And I'm not saying Immanuel Quickley hasn't struggled this season, but maybe it would have been easier for him not to struggle if he was playing with Jakob Poeltl a little bit more. So, as much as he's not a floor spacer in terms of shooting on offense, his screen setting is big. His passing out of the high post is big and can free up opportunities. He does a lot of other crucial aspects of the game that other centers like Miles Turner can shoot threes, sure, but there's so many other critical aspects that he's lacking in that position that Jakob Poeltl possesses. So I think, the most important player for the team is Scottie Barnes. But the X factor that could change the team the most the rest of the way, certainly for me, has to be Jakob Poeltl. Please, I hope he's healthy. What a change to the team it would be if he was. gives them a way better shot of being a top 6 seed, but way better shot of winning a playoff series as well. Just the back is scary. I hope everything. I hope he recovers. You know, I hope he recovers. All right, guys, 6 o'clock. That is just about going to do it. Let me answer the last few questions here. I feel like things are going to open up for Grady, like for him to leave or for him to play better. I don't know. I don't have a lot of confidence in him, to be honest. Gord Coos says, I'm looking at the next 10 games. There's some wins to be had. Should be Chicago, should be Milwaukee. Might be 2 losses against OKC and San Antonio, even at home. Should be Washington. Another 10 games in Knicks. Minnesota, I want to get one back there. Dallas is winnable. Houston might be tough. New Orleans is winnable. Like, there's some wins here. There's some wins here. If you get a bad matchup in the playoffs where they have a big and you don't, we're in trouble. So, like, he's important, like I said. Jacob, how many players on this starting lineup will be here in 3 years from now? I think it's just Scottie. Quickly will struggle to still be here. RJ Barrett will not be here. No shot. I think Ingram's got a decent chance. Still. If Pirtle is healthy, it's tough to move that contract. So it could also be him. Colin Murray-Boyles might be a starter at that point. Oh, but sorry, from the starting lineup right now. Scottie's, I think I'd set the line at 2.5. Over under 2.5. I'd probably bet the under, but I'd set the line at 2.5. I think the under would be the more likely side. What would I bet on a 1.5? That's probably the line, actually. The line's probably 1.5. Ooh, I'd probably bet the over, but that's a tougher one. Maybe the line is 1.5, actually. Kings trying to scam us with Sabonis. I mean, we're trying to scam them with Pirtle, potentially. We'll see. Anyways, 6 o'clock. I have a concert that I'm attending tonight. I am signing off. Thank you for tuning in for the Raptors Happy Hour. If you enjoyed, do me a favor and hit the like button. It makes a big difference to the channel. If you're new to the channel, subscribe for more Raptors content like this. I'm back tomorrow as the Raptors take on those Chicago Bulls, I believe at 8 p.m., which means a 7:45 p.m. Eastern Time live stream for a Raptors watch along. Have a great rest of your night, everybody.